And he didn't have any words for that answer. What he did for that, to answer that question, what he did was he placed his hand on the ground and he said, as the earth is my witness, I have a right to be here. And in the text, he did it with what they call a lion's roar. I have a right to be here. I have a right to take up space. I deserve to be happy, healthy, and fulfilled. And in order for us to have these things, courage is absolutely required and part of the path. And courage is something that most of us get to learn because, you know, if we're not taught it, if we don't understand what it is, and we're not consciously aware of how we can use it to amplify that with which we want, and which is our birthright to have. It is our birthright to be at ease. It is our birthright to be at peace. You know, what was I saying? I was talking about that we can actually awaken and cultivate courage. And so given that, we're going to spend our meditation this morning. I'm going to do a guided meditation to help us cultivate some courage. And then we'll unpack and I'll talk about the three essential pieces to keep in mind. The three factors that awaken and sustain courage. So courage is defined as, well, this is actually the second definition. The first definition of courage is to feel afraid and do it anyway. So that's the first definition. The second one is that we have this strength in the face of pain or grief. So, and I think, you know, both of those definitions are really useful. There's this inner kind of courage that we can cultivate that has us being less thrown off by the fluctuating thoughts and feelings that we have on a daily basis. Right? So developing this inner capacity to be, to stand firm in that which we are, regardless of what's happening around us. This is called equanimity. But the foundational piece of that, we need courage to do that. And we absolutely can build and grow our courage so that we have the deep peace and natural happiness that are our birthright. So with that, I'd love before we start our meditation, could you just pop into the chat? You know, I'd love to hear why you're here. Welcome for those of you who are new. I think I've seen most of you before, but I have a question mark about one or two of you. So welcome if you are brand new to our the Embodied Mindfulness Schools Sangha. And you can go ahead and just pop into the chat what your intention is. Why are you here? What is it that has you wanting to cultivate more courage? You know, maybe you do indeed want consistent peace or natural happiness or more connection in your relationships. Or maybe there's a dream that you have, a vision that you have, and you notice yourself backing down around taking actions towards it because you get frightened by what people will think, or, you know, is this really possible for me? So thank you. To trust, surrender, and have confidence in source. Thank you, Q. Here to practice, learn, and connect. My intention is soulfulness. Yes. Awesome. Thanks, Marilyn. I'm gonna wait for one more and then we're gonna go ahead and practice. Trying to pull myself out of a depression. Hi, Rebecca. It's good to have you here. You're in the right place. How fun. I love it when I see people I haven't seen for a while show up here. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to practice together. And as always, when we practice together, we come as we are. I want you to think about this teaching, everything belongs. And I encourage you as we do this meditation, which will be about 30 minutes, please avoid multitasking. Okay, this is not the time to check your phone, to check emails, to It's so easy to do right now as we're practicing from home. But give yourself the gift of this practice and just shut it down so you can really be present and receive what it is that you're here to receive. And then I encourage you, we meet until about 10, and I encourage you to stay for the entire class so that you again receive what it is that you're here to receive. Okay. So eyes can be closed or open with a soft gaze. It's really helpful to just come into a little deeper breath. So let's take 3 deep breaths. We'll hold at the top of our inhale. So deep breath in and hold, sipping in a little bit more. And exhale, let it go. Just letting it sigh out. And again, deep breath in. And hold, sipping in a little bit more. Good. And exhale, sigh it out. And one more like that, breathing in. Hold, sip in more. And release. Tethering your attention now to your breath. Not focusing on the breath, not concentrating on the breath, but allowing your breath to soothe you, letting it be important, like something that you pay attention to. Not to neglect the source of life, which is your breath. Without it, you are not here anymore. So in this three-dimensional earthly existence. And you don't have to alter your breathing. You can just let it breathe you. It's really helpful to really come all the way into the body, since most of the ways that we frighten ourselves is through our thinking. One of the ways that we turn down the volume on overthinking, on catastrophic thinking, on judging, comparing, planning, rehearsing, rehashing, dreading, even fantasizing, is to come all the way into the body. And we can begin this with just feeling inside the feet and the toes. So feeling inside your feet and inside your toes. And then coming up into your ankles, feeling your ankles. And if your mind wanders as I'm giving these instructions, don't worry at all. Just come back whenever you remember. And then feeling your ankles and your shins, the whole inside of the lower legs. And your knees. And now your thighs. Feeling from the inside out, and softening from the inside. Now your hips. And your low belly. Maybe this next in-breath can be received into a soft belly, feeling the pelvic bowl, the pubic bone at the front, sacrum at the back. What's it like to just invite in a belly breath? And just to allow the belly to breathe as we feel into the solar plexus, that space between the navel and the sternum. Just let this part of your body be soft, in the mid-back. And coming into the inside of the chest now, the upper back. Keep this part of your body lifted. Raise your heart. Embody an upright spine. Sense the inherent dignity that's available when we embody our spine. One of the ways that we encourage courage is to embody the spine and to keep the heart lifted. Now feeling into the shoulders and the upper arms and the elbows. And the forearms and the wrists. The insides of the hands and the fingers. And the inside of the throat. And the head. Now unifying these parts of the body that we've just visited in isolation through this body scan, so that you're sensing the whole of your being from the feet all the way to the crown. And coming back again and again to that belly breath. And courage is a way of being. It doesn't exist in some future moment. You can even sense in your own body what strength in the face of the arising and passing of experience. What does that feel like? And there's nothing to figure out. There's no need to prepare yourself for some future moment. Instead, just being present, being available, being in relationship to the arising of the breath, to the arising of sensations, emotions, and thoughts, without fiddling or fixing or trying to curate what happens. Just instead, it's like this. And I care. It's like this. And it's not wrong. I may be feeling ease, or I may be feeling annoyed. I may be feeling happy, or I may be feeling afraid. It's like this, and I care. Letting in the sounds in the room. You need to guard yourself against anything. Some sounds are pleasant, some are unpleasant. It's like this, and I care. You don't need to manage anything right now. Sometimes a thought arises, an image or an impression, and it feels sticky. I've got to think about this, or I mustn't forget that. Notice that. Notice if thoughts arise that are sticky. They're hard not to give your attention to them. Just notice. Come back to your embodied experience. If you get kind of contracted around a thought form, you start to notice that you're collapsing. You're starting to tense up. in an area of the body, just the moment you notice it, you might notice that right now, just relax. You can always relax. You don't have to figure out what happened. You don't have to analyze or figure anything out. Just relax into the mystery. Nothing to guard and nothing to protect. I am who I am, and it's enough. And inside every human is this, what Ezra Beta calls the anxious quiver of being. You might just notice what that experience is for you, and you sort of tune into something that most of us would rather not tune into. Yet it's there. This anxious tenderness or quiver of being. You might feel it in your heart or in your belly or your throat. Maybe you experience it somewhere else in your body. What's your usual relationship with this part of you? When you notice this part of you, maybe you get really busy and distract yourself away from it. Maybe you get caught in what I call the self-improvement project, and you try to do some kind of practice to make it go away or to change it in some way. Maybe you shut down. So just noticing what the usual relationship is to this part of you. And then just just for now, instead of doing any of the usual habits or strategies with this part of your being, what would it feel like to just take good care of it? To be with it, to hold it, like a mother holds its crying baby. To not make this part of you wrong. And also not to react from this. To make this mean something about you or about life. It can be helpful sometimes to even just place your hand on your heart. It's like this. And I care. I care about this. And as you're holding this part of you, notice that you can also hear the sounds in the room. You can also feel your breath. You can feel your body from the inside out. You can notice the okayness that's here, like you're really okay right here and right now. You're here listening and to a Dharma, or you're here meditating. You're safe. What's it like to hold this part of you and to recognize it's not the whole story? So many other aspects of your experience that you can include. As you take care of this tender part of yourself. Dana Fald says in one of her poems, "There's no controlling life. Try corralling a lightning bolt containing a tornado. Dam a stream and it will create a new channel. Resist and the tide will sweep you off your feet. Allow and grace will carry you to higher ground. The only safety lies in letting it all in. The wild, the weak, fear, fantasies, failure, and success. When loss rips off the doors of the heart, or fear clouds your vision with despair, practice becomes simply bearing the truth. And the choice to let go of your usual ways of being. The whole world is revealed to your new eyes. And if you like, if your eyes are closed, you can just blink them open. And I want you to just look around the room that you're in. Let your nervous system get oriented to your space again. You can look behind you as well. Okay. Blessings. So good to see you here. Hello, Annette. And oh, I'm so glad you're here, Phoenix and Mackenzie and Carol, Tiffany, Patty, Lisa, Rebecca, Marlene, Therese, Q, Diana, Is that Diana Chase? Oh my
It is.
goodness. So good to see you, love. Um, and Joanne. Hi, Joanne. And Marilyn. Beautiful. So beautiful to be with you and talk about courage. I want to mention that we usually we overlook the courage that we overlook typically like a lot of our goodness. It's part of our habit. It's part of our suffering is that we have a practice of overlooking the obvious. So I want us all to recognize that we are actually just in the meditation practice, practicing courage, just to sit and be with your experience, as Dana Faulds points to in that poem that I read, is a practice of courage. And this is a huge piece of what I'm going to speak to today, which is really in the service of like you know, having that consistent peace and natural happiness that are your birthright. Before I go on, and I want to read some of the other pieces in the chat that I missed when we started our meditation. I want to just mention that these talks are offered by, these meditations and talks are offered by donation. Your donations really make a difference. You can find me on PayPal or Zelle or Venmo. If you cannot make a donation, please don't not come because of that. And if you can, that really makes a difference, and I appreciate it. Another thing that I want to mention is that coming up on the 25th of this month, January 25th, it's a Monday, I'm offering a freely offered masterclass called Radiant and on the Rise. I'm going to pop the link into the chat right now. I'd like all of you to be there. If you come here to these meditations, you'll love this. This is like 5 days where we really get to practice awakening the heart of peace and consistent confidence so that we can, you know, make the impact that we were born to make. And that's there for you, freely offered. Please join. It's the link is there in the chat. All right, I'm going to go back and just read some of these intention statements that I didn't get to initially. Joanne, gain additional clarity of thought through serenity. Tiffany, since last month, I have been receiving a lot of synchronicity around the theme of courage and lion symbolism. I set an intention this morning for peace and saw this email. I love it. Yeah, good. I'm glad you're still here. Trying to start the new year with good energy and finding my spirituality again. Thank you, Therese. Okay, beautiful. All right, the lion's roar. I spoke a little bit about the lion's roar at the beginning of, before we actually started the meditation. I'm going to talk about 3 essential pieces of awakening courage. And I'm going to define it again. The first definition was feel the fear and do it anyway. You know, just feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And then the second definition of courage that I found was strength in the face of pain or grief. Strength in the face of pain or grief. We can use any emotional, you know, turmoil or upset to in the, you know, as well as pain and grief. So today's class, the meditation was designed to enhance and have you connect to that strength that isn't in the absence of fear. I pointed to the anxious quiver of being that Ezra Beta writes about. And I like those. I've always loved that terminology because I thought, oh my God, he totally knows what I experience every day is this anxious quiver of being. He just named something that was so true to my own experience. And I felt immediate relief in just the naming of it. Because the truth is we all have that anxious quiver of being. And our usual habits for dealing with it typically don't work in terms of our us like heeding the calling that we all have on our lives, right? There is a path, we're all on it, right? So you are called to be fully expressed in your life, and for each of us that looks differently, right? But we all have that calling. We all have that deep longing and desire for that. And often what gets in the way is our relationship to fear, our relationship to the anxious quiver of being, which is when I feel that way, I make it mean something about me or about my life. And I either get distracted, do you ever have those like 5 minutes between appointments, or you're waiting for something and you pull your phone out? Why do we do that? Because we don't want to deal with ourselves. Like we want to distract ourselves away from what we're experiencing. And we do this through food, we do it through shopping, we do it through chronic irritation and blame of others. Well, if only they'd get their shit together, then I wouldn't have this problem anymore. So one of the ways that we distract ourselves away from the anxious quiver being, and we know that doesn't work. Something else that we might do is collapse. I won't, because I'm feeling this way, I'm gonna collapse inside of it. And I'm not going to do my meditation practice or make that phone call that I've been needing to make because I'm scared. Or we procrastinate, we put it off. Procrastination, by the way, I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. We don't procrastinate because we're lazy. We don't procrastinate because we don't have ambition. Let me say that again. We don't procrastinate because we're lazy or lack ambition. We procrastinate as a way to take the pressure off. Like it's a way to alleviate stress. So instead of dealing with what it is that we really need to deal with, we might watch a funny video on YouTube, and we push the snooze button on doing things that are important because they're hard. And those things that are hard, they feel stressful. And so we will do something else. And then that furthers the pattern of procrastination. And then our confidence and our trust in ourselves goes down. It's a loop we want to like cut through, but we're not going to cut through the loop with judgment. We cut through that with kindness and compassion. I said that like it's so like no big deal, but I mean, this is like a huge shift that we all get to make collectively in this moment. Everyone here can just sense what a little more inner friendliness would feel like, right? Because if you don't have your own back, no one else will. And if you keep looking to other people to encourage and validate and reassure you so that you can finally, feel the way that you want to feel in your life, which is what everything comes back to, you'll die without ever having touched it, because it's no one else's job but yours. So courage, I want you to like marry courage with with self-love. Practicing courage is a critical component of self-love. And practicing courage, the first thing that I wanted to talk about is we want to be clear about what we want. We want to be clear about what our intention is. We want to be clear about what our intention is for living, for being alive. Who do we want to be? How do we want to show up? And it's not I'm not talking about, I want to be, when you're a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? You're like, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a influencer. Let me get up to speed here with our youth. That's not. It's like that thing that you're after. You're after that thing because of a way that it makes you feel inside. And so let's just work. That's why in my work, I work a lot with the root feeling, and I work a lot with emotional integration and emotional healing, because the thing that gets in our way most isn't fear. When we think about courage, we think about fear, right? It's not fear. It's not the fact that you have an anxious quiver of being and that you encounter fear on a daily basis. Like Georgia O'Keeffe said, I've been afraid every day of my life. I haven't let it stop me from doing a single thing I've ever wanted to do. It's not fear, it's our relationship to it and what we make it mean about ourselves and about others and about life that gets in the way. And so when we clarify, so let me get back to clarifying what we want. How do you want to feel every day? How do you want today to feel? And just kind of sense into that. And you can even pop it in the chat. Like, what's that feeling word that you wish you had? You wish you had more consistent confidence, or I wish I had more consistent peace, or I wish I had felt like there was meaning in my life. I wish I felt connected to my purpose. What is that feeling that you really want? For me, it's always, I always come back to peace. And I come back to purpose. And I come back to living a life that matters for myself and for my kids and for my clients and for my students. I know for myself that when I die, I want to know that there will be like people at my funeral whom I made a huge difference for. Right. And I think about that on a daily basis. What would people say about me when I die? Or what will they say about me when I die? So we can even either live in this small sense of self that's really reacting to fear, shutting down, avoiding, or grabbing onto things that are, that are comfortable, and pushing away anything that's uncomfortable. That's a small way to live. Or are we really like leaning into the radiant self, or the true self, or the you that I want to feel joy. I want to feel settled in joyful peace. Yes, joy. Beautiful. All of these things are available to everyone, to you. And we forget about it if we're not like consciously connecting to it. So having some kind of practice where you're remembering, I want consistent, peaceful joy. And I know that consistent, peaceful joy ain't going to happen if I keep promising myself that I'm going to get up early and go exercise. Or it's not going to be possible if I keep promising myself I'm going to speak up at work when I keep like being quiet because I'm afraid of what other people will think. I'm just giving you, two simple examples. And I don't do it because when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel like it, or I'm afraid I won't be able to do it, my workout, or, I'm going to realize how out of shape I am. So I just push the snooze button and say, I'm going to do it later. Or I don't speak up at work. I don't speak up with my friends when they keep bringing up that topic that bothers me because I'm afraid of what they're going to think. So that moment of hesitation is the moment when you get to apply courage. Courage is a verb. So courage moves you out of hesitation and moves you into action. Or courage moves you out of trying to distract yourself from the anxious quiver of being that you might just be noticing in between phone calls or appointments, or while you're sitting alone with yourself for a few minutes. And it has you distracting yourself from your what Matthew Brunsilver calls the lava lamp of experience in the body. Well, it shouldn't be this way. When we're at war with our internal experience, with our inner world, when we're believing that it shouldn't be this way, then we won't be able to awaken the courage that we need to change, right? There is courage that is necessary to change. We always want to make sure we're changing from a place of already enough as I am, right? And there's always room for growth, because as long as we're alive, we're going to long for that expansion, for that growth. And if we're not growing, we're stagnant. And when we're stagnant, we feel annoyed a lot. When we're stagnant, we feel like we feel exhausted a lot. When we're stagnant, we might feel like, I don't want to put too much on my plate because I'm already tired. But the truth is, it's not the stuff that's on your plate that's making you tired. It's the hesitation and the ways that you put things off. And it's not the being in action that's making you tired. It's all of the hesitation and the contemplation that we do before action that makes us tired. Does this make sense? Are you feeling me here? Can you relate to this? Okay. So the first thing we want to do is clarify what we want to feel, which you all did here beautifully, or some of you did here. Oh, thanks, Mackenzie. Mind blowing. Okay. And then, okay, so the second thing we want to do is soothe. So soothing is essential. Soothe the fear. Okay, this is not about this is not a boot camp. It's not about suck it up, buttercup, just like pull yourself up by your bootstraps and push on through. We all do that really well, I think. Most people, and especially in our culture, this is something that many of us have been taught, and we sort of white knuckle our way through life. We're just trying to get through. I had a colleague that used to say it all the time. I just want to get it done. Let's just get it done. And I hated that, because I was like, I'm not here to just get it done. I want to enjoy the process. Now, how do we enjoy the process? Well, we shift from having a critical sort of judgy attitude towards ourselves to having an attitude towards ourselves that is soothing. And soothing can help you make the phone call. Soothing can help you open your mouth when you're afraid and you don't know if what you're going to say will have you lose belonging with the people that you love the most, right? Because that's often what comes up for us. Soothing and being a good parent to that anxious quiver of being, which we could also name as the inner child, will help us take the action, right? So soothing, you don't feel like doing that today. You promised yourself you'd wake up, and get out of bed. But if the day feels really heavy and it feels like a lot, what is required to get out of that bed in that moment? Courage. Courage. That's okay, love. You can do this. You can do this. I'm going to take good care of you. Okay, so soothing is integral to courage. And number 3 is finally, eventually, hopefully, after not too long, we don't wait too long to take action. So whether it be to speak up, whether it be to get your tushy outside or inside and do your practice like you promised yourself you would. Right. So courage, so aligned action, there's something that gets to happen, whether it be expression, following through on something you said you would complete. It looks different for all of us, but we got to take the action. And usually before we take whatever that action is, there's a moment, as I mentioned earlier, of hesitation. You have an impulse to do the thing. You have this impulse, I had this impulse to reach out to a bunch of people that I know who are colleagues and friends, to share Radiant and On the Rise with them, because I want as many people to come to that so I can make as much of a difference as possible for people as I can. I had this inspiration to do that. And then very quickly, I had all these thoughts. Well, they're probably busy too, because it's the new year. Well, why would they want to share that? I just felt uncomfortable. And so I felt the hesitation. And instead of just listening to the hesitation and not doing it, I did it anyway. Courage. Courage. We can learn a lot by noticing where we're hesitating. Today, notice where you hesitate. Notice where you feel called, or it's that thing that you've been procrastinating on, and you have this hesitation around getting it done or doing it. Normally, we obey the hesitation, right? Whether it be I push snooze on my alarm and I sleep in again because the day just feels like too much. Or, I tell myself I'll work out tomorrow, or I'll meditate tomorrow, or I'll have that conversation tomorrow, or I'll make that big ask tomorrow. Do it. So courage is no, do it. Just go do it. Right? So taking action is the third piece. Whatever it is that we know would amplify our intention, we got to in some ways fight for it. It's a loving fight. We fight with love, but there's a lot of forces against us. The stream of like always wanting to feel comfortable, not wanting to rock the boat. I mean, this is like what a lot of us are up against. That's why the Buddha said this work is against the stream. What do we need to do things that are against the stream? Courage. Rosa Parks. So many times she rode that bus. I mean, she rode that bus every single day. Why? Why one day she decided, I'm not going to get up? And in interviews, she talked about, well, I just knew it was wrong. And that one day she had the feeling, I'm not going to get up, and she listened to it. Imagine if she hadn't. Like, imagine if she hadn't. You know, it's like, it's powerful when that's why I like, you know, thinking about people and having people in my life that live with courage, that act from courage, that do the things that are hard because they're more devoted to their purpose than they are to their comfort. And what you notice when you do these things is peace, is joy, because you're not anymore like preoccupied with that voice, that part of you in the back of your mind that's like, knows what it is that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing, knows who you could be, but you're like kind of like putting the wet blanket on it. Like that distraction of doubt, you know, is exhausting. And the antidote to that is courageously taking action, the actions that are aligned with our intention. So notice the places where you're hesitating today. And rather than listen to that hesitation, take action and notice what happens. So we're coming to a landing place in our time together. I talked about courage and the 3 aspects, clarifying what it is that you want, your intention. You gotta connect to that intention on a daily basis, multiple times a day. Have it up around you. Know why you're here and what it is that you're here to create based on a felt sense in the body. Joyful peace, or whatever it is. Like, I'm remembering what some of you put. Does not that thought of waiting too long cause a stressor? Yeah, you're never behind. So telling yourself that you've waited too long is just one of the ways that we like to stay stuck. That's one of the ways that we judge ourselves. So yeah, you can just ditch that idea that you've waited too long for anything. And you can just decide today that you're right on time. That's true for all of us. I don't care how old you are. Yeah. Because we've all got that thought in our mind. I'm too late. You know, I'm behind. I haven't met a person. I've done a lot. I work with a lot of people. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. So just ditch that thought. Yeah. The ways that we keep ourselves down and berate ourselves and all of that needs to go. Just, we notice when we're doing it and we just say no to that. Don't even entertain it. Just don't entertain it. So I talked about clarifying and soothing and taking aligned action. I talked about hesitation and moving towards what you hesitate on rather than backing down or putting it off. What's your biggest takeaway from today? And then we'll close. What's your biggest takeaway? Oh, I'm reading one of your comments here. Yeah. Reading your comment here, Mackenzie. Good. You're welcome, Mackenzie. Go to Radiant on the Rise too. Make sure you click that if you haven't already signed up. Yeah, hesitation makes you tired. Anyone else, just pop into the chat what their takeaway is from today's move towards where you're hesitating. Yeah. Courage is available immediately. The anxious quiver of being, soothe the fear. Yes, Marlene, beautiful. All right, so as we close, I'd like to put we can put our hand on our hearts. And some of you are on camera, some of you aren't, no problem either way, but we can just take a look at the squares here and just imagine the beings that we don't see and also see the beings that we can see. Thank you. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. Bringing palms together. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back next week on Tuesday. Please do donate and please do join Radiant on the Rise. If you're here and you haven't yet, if you liked this, you will love that. So sending you so much love and many blessings. You can take yourself off mute if you like and say goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Namaste.
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 Thank you.
Have a beautiful day, everybody.
Sending peace and love. Love you guys.
Love you too.